Hello YouTube, welcome back to Doubly Blessed Homestead. Over the last couple weeks we've harvested some blackberries and we've harvested some apples. So this is the first year we've harvested apples. Really excited about that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of apples that we did harvest and we're going to make some apple preserves or apple pie filling or apple jam. So come along with us. I'll show you how I do it. So check this out. My wife went to a resale shop a few months ago and got this. I've seen these advertised for, 20 bucks or so. She picked it up used at a resale place for $5 or $6. So I don't know if you know what this is, but it's a core and a slicer and a peeler for either apples or potatoes or any other kind of firm fruit. So let me show you how it works. So here's our apple. I'm gonna jam it on there. My kids were amazed when I showed them. Actually, I was amazed. And shazam. There's your apple. Here's all your peels. Make vinegar out of that. And then here is a nice core. So we're going to use the cores to make apple cider vinegar later. You can see I've already done some. Here's some lemons that I juiced earlier just for the jellies. But how simple is that? And you can move this out of the way if all you wanted to do was skin it, and then you can move this out of the way if all you want to do is core it and slice it. And it's got a little suction deal here. You can suck it down to the table and it doesn't move. So this is what I'm going to use to process all my apples. I'm going to let you go for now, and I'm going to get peeling some of these apples. And then when I'm done with that, I'll bring you back and we'll see what we can do with getting these things in jars. All right, so as you can see here, there we have little apple wedges. Actually, not they're apple wedges, or apple slices. And they're really apple rings because you can tell it cut it in a spiral, but I cut each spiral in half. So we have these nice little pieces here. Some of them are broke, some of them are not. But what I did is I put them in water and I put the lemon juice in the water. So what that does is that keeps the apples from browning. Now you can tell these are brown, but a lot of these browned before I could get them in the water. So I should have just dropped them into the water as soon as I peeled them. So what happens is the recipe calls for apples and then water and lemon juice. But since we have the water and the lemon juice already with the apples, I don't have to add any extra lemon juice or water. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drain these off. So we need 6 cups. And these are loose measurements. When you cook, you don't really measure to the exact. We're going to do 6 of these, 4, 5, and then a little extra, just because it never hurts. All right. All right. So since we already have the water here, and that calls for 1 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I've got tons of lemon juice in here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the water. There's 1 cup of water. And we're just going to add it to the apple slices already. And it's already got the lemon juice. It's already got the lemon juice in there. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the apples and the water and the lemon juice, and we're going to put it in a large cast iron pot that's been on the stove here, and we're going to simmer it for 10 minutes. Okay. Let's go over there and get these things on the simmer. So we've got them in the cast iron here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna just put the fire underneath it. All right, we let that simmer, the water and the apples, we let that simmer for 10 minutes, and then I added 4 cups of sugar. Now I'm using white sugar here, but on subsequent batches, I think I'm gonna try to use some brown sugar and see how it does. And we're gonna bring that up to a boil, a rolling boil, which is a boil that you cannot stir out. And then we're gonna boil that for 1 minute like that. And then we're going to add our spices, which is cinnamon and nutmeg. You can add a couple teaspoons of the nutmeg and a couple tablespoons of the cinnamon. And then we're going to ladle it into jars. So I'm gonna keep stirring this until we get it to a boil, and then we'll come back. I forgot to tell you that before we added the sugar, right after it simmered for 10 minutes, we added 6 tablespoons of classic pectin, and we stirred that in and then brought it back up to a boil. And then after we brought that up to a boil, we added the sugar. So as you can see here, I'm stirring it, and it is not stirring out. The boiling is not stirring out. See, it continues to boil. So what we're going to do is we're going to boil it for 1 minute like this. Actually, while it's boiling, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat down and add some spices and then bring it back up to a boil. So what I did is I added some cinnamon and some clove. I may have added too much clove. I don't know. It smells really good, but I think I added too much clove. All right. So I've had the cans in the water bath canner boiling, so they're good and sterilized and hot. What I'll do is I'll pull each jar out, pull it over here, ladle it full, put a lid on it. Take those bands, put the bands on it, and then I will put it back into the canner and process it for 5 minutes, which means I'll boil boil the water with all the jars of apple preserves in it for 10 minutes. It recommends 5 minutes, but I always go 10, and then I'll pull them out, and I will set them on the table to dry. Another little tip, while the jars are still hot and you've heard the little pop, go ahead and pull the bands off. Make sure they've all sealed. Pull the bands off, that way any moisture that's trapped underneath the band can evaporate off, and it expedites the process if your jars are hot. That way, if you're storing them for a long time, you don't have to worry about these bands and lids and things rusting, and they will rust. So, get all the bands out of the way. So far I have a batch here that's just apples, and here, this is all apples and cinnamon and cloves. So apples, and then apple, cinnamon, and cloves. And then the next one I have will be apples, cinnamon, and nutmeg. We probably got another 2 batches, so that's 1 batch, 2 batches, and I'll probably have 2 more batches left to do.